All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the GSR Podcast. We are once again joined by Mr. Ian Cipriano,
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon.
and I am your host, Mr. Jose Angelo Zulueta. And today we're going to be talking about the billing and collection side of what landowners, and/or landlords usually go through when it comes to their rental properties. So, Sir Ian, I think this topic's going to be extremely useful because it'll help me as a tenant understand the processes of what exactly my landlord goes through, as well as elaborate on the advantages you can gain when you outsource the work for a portion of the rent, of course. I'm assuming to a property management company so that you can help with billing and collection. So help me understand what it's like, I guess, on the back end of being a landlord. What are the sort of worries or hiccups you have to go through when it comes to billing and collection? Because my assumption is that it would be as easy as tenant sends the rent and tenant sends the utility bills to your GCash or to your bank account, and then there are no more problems. But what more is there to that process?
Okay, thank you for that
Mm.
questions, Angelo. Billing and collection is one of the most important part by managing a properties because most of the landlords or the unit owners, there's only two lang naman eh. If they are purchasing a condominium or a property, there's a two reasons only.
Mm.
It could be they are end users or most probably for investment use.
Mm.
So for investment use, meaning they want to maximize their assets or improve their assets. So billing and collection will help them a lot to improve their assets. So let's start on renting out the property. So billing and collection is the one monitoring those tenants' rental payments.
Okay.
As we experience here in Philippines, especially here in CBD area, is not all the tenant has standard payment terms. The common practice of payment terms is it's 2 months advance, 2 months security deposit, and then the rest is post-dated checks.
Yeah.
But not really all tenants can give post-dated checks, and some of them they cannot also like provide 2 months security deposit,
Mm.
which is we should monitor this kind of payment terms. So billing and collection is the one monitoring and collecting these bills or coordinating with those tenants
Okay.
when it comes on their payments. It could be bank deposit or cash or like GCash online transfer. We do have that kind of payment options. So in case you don't have any like in case you have a tenant and then there is some of the rental payment delay, so the problem would be the owner needs to like coordinate with the tenant or even go to the unit to meet up the tenant to arrange to ask what's the reason why they cannot pay a rental amount. So billing and collection doing this kind of thing. So we do experience this all things that for the past 10 years that we're doing rental is there's a lot of tenant also that cannot uh, pay in the right time or in their
Mm.
in their due. So what happened is we billing and collection has a process. How can we convince the tenant to pay? So yes.
Okay. So I have one or two questions about everything you've told me thus far. First off, what is the advantage of having post-dated checks instead of regular bank deposits? Why do a lot of landlords insist on PDCs rather than, let's say, just regular monthly bank transfers? That's my first question. My second question is, when you're in charge of billing and collection, is it possible to, as with permission from the landlord, change or adjust the rental terms so that perhaps if the tenant can't pay the monthly rent right now, maybe he can pay in half batches for a period of time and then pay the rest. Is that a thing that happens? Or yeah. So yeah.
The first questions, yes, we can adjust the rental payment, but it should be indicated in the contract.
Okay.
But usually we don't tolerate this kind of adjustment. What's in the contract, it should be happen.
It should be followed.
So it's a commitment actually of the owner, and then the tenant. It's a commitment. So usually, yes, we don't tolerate this one. Indicated in the contract, we put like if the tenant has a problem, or the payment will be delayed, so we will apply like penalty, a
Okay.
penalty. So it depends on the landlord. Sometimes 1% or 5% penalty. So it depends on the landlord.
I see. So that means a possible increase in rent payment if the payments are late.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So the process also, just in case the payment will be late, so the process of billing and collection, at first, before the due date, they will send an email to the tenant. And then if there's no response on the email, so during the date of the due date, they will call it the tenant. They will reach out with the tenant.
Okay.
So if still the tenant doesn't have any response or didn't answer the call, following day, which is already past at day one pass, billing and collection team will go to the unit to send a physical letter to give it in the concierge email box, or put it like below the door, or also to meet the tenant to talk about what happened, why you cannot pay the rent. So there will be an arrangement.
I see. All right.
So just in case we didn't meet the tenant during day one after the delay, so we will give in the letter, we'll give the tenant 3 days to comply with the property management team to the billing and collection. If the tenant still not complying with the 3 days given to him or her, we need to cut the utilities or even hold him to enter the condominium building.
Those are very strong, but I guess necessary precautions that you need to take.
Imagine if the owner will do this one, it could be a hassle for the owners, for the landlord.
Which is where the responsibility falls onto GSR to make sure that that sort of thing doesn't happen, hopefully. Hence the contacting of the tenants and the 3 days notice.
Yes.
And then if that does happen, then it's on us to pull the plug on utilities. Wow, that's a lot to deal with. And I guess it's good that you can have a company take care of that kind of service for you, because you're right, as a landlord, it's
the worst case scenario, if after 3 days still the tenant cannot pay, and then we cannot reach out, the worst case scenario, we need to terminate the contract. So it's indicated in the contract. We call it a forced termination, that their security deposit will forfeited also. Because if 5 days pass, 3 days or 5 days pass, we cannot get a rental payment with the tenant, unit owner's assets, there's a loss with the income. So we don't want to this one. We need to prepare next tenant. We need to maximize rental income of the unit owner. So that's the important thing of billing and collection. A team that monitoring your rental income and like maximizing your assets also.
All right. And by maximizing assets, you mean being able to make sure that the asset is consistently generating income?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right. I guess that's okay enough to understand from that perspective, in that you have to make sure the asset keeps stably generating its income.
Mm.
And the worst case scenario only happens when you really can't get into contact with the tenant, right? That's
Yes,
the
that's
only
correct.
time that you'll have to force. But has it ever come to that point in GSR? Like, have you ever been able to witness a forced tenant termination?
Yes, yes.
Mm.
We experienced several of that kind of situation also, but some of the tenants, like for example, there's two thing. First thing, those tenants that we cannot contact, it's already left in the country, and then they
Oh.
already left. Though second scenario is, yes, we can contact them, but they are having problems, so we can talk with them. So as long as they're like, it's valid, the reason is valid, but we don't want to tolerate. But if the owner understands, and it will be still depends on the owner.
Mm.
So okay, the tenant cannot pay. For example, one situation is we need to change the due date because the tenant's salary, it's not like same with the due date. Like some of the tenant receiving their salary after the due date, so we
Uh,
need to make an arrangement. So it happens also.
okay.
So but then still we need to consider owners like owner's opinion also. So yeah. Yes, that's there's two scenario. Yes.
Mhm.
Mm.
The second scenario is an eye opener, because I think it's really good that, one, you're the ones handling the you're the ones helping handle the negotiation or renegotiation of the
Mm.
contracts. And two, since you mentioned the let's say the properties, having seen properties go through multiple contract terminations, like this isn't a one-time thing or a rare thing, it's more of an uncommon thing. I think being able to recruit a team like GSR, or to establish your own billing and collection team, is even more important, because especially if you're a landlord owning multiple properties, you can't be running around like a headless chicken collecting rent and
Yes.
solving all the issues. Plus, I realize that if you have an experienced team, like say GSR's team, if there are any problems with the tenant, then that means you have a team who knows how to renegotiate terms so that both parties are satisfied.
Yes.
Mm. So that still begs the question, though: why are post-dated checks the most preferred way to pay for rent in the Philippines?
Yes, post dated checks is like most of the tenants,
Mm-hmm.
based on the experience that we have, is cash payment. It's okay if you pay advance. Like usually it should be 1 month advance.
Mm.
But post dated checks, for example, the tenants is some of the tenants is foreigners. They cannot like do bank transaction. They are not so familiar with online phone transactions
Mm.
or going here to pay cash. That's our those are the reasons why the payment is delayed. So post dated checks, they just need to apply with the bank here, and then put the rental payment in the bank, and then so we're automatically deducting that post dated checks.
Mm.
So the hassles of the tenant to like
Regularly
to yeah
pay.
regularly pay will be less, and yes.
Because you already have the money in the bank account anyway, and you just need to chuck the check into the bank. Okay,
Yes,
yeah.
another thing, it's also the security that we need to for the landlords also,
Mm.
because if the tenant has both stated checks, meaning they have the enough requirements to apply with the bank. So meaning
Uh,
they cannot like run in the country yung parang mawawala na lang bigla.
mhm.
So it's one of the requirements that the landlord wants.
Because at least that way it's more guaranteed that the owner can pay, because you need that amount in the bank to make the checks in the first place.
Yes, they should
Oh.
have visa, they should have ACR, they have a secure job here in Philippines that they can pay a rent.
Hmm. The more you tell me about how tenants have the propensity to run away, the more surprising it is, because I would have thought that, when you shell out for rent, that you're gonna go the whole 9 yards, that you're gonna stay the entire time. But I didn't think it was this frequent that companies and landlords would have to deal with their tenants just living in their house for a couple of months and then suddenly deciding to leave the country or run away.
Yes.
That sounds horrible.
Actually, we categorize this kind of tenant. So those tenant that has a PDC, a post-dated checks. So we call it like a minimal, like a blue flag, minimum risk with minimum risk. So those other tenants naman na the payment terms is cash and then it's monthly advance. This is the what we call a red flag. So meaning we are focusing monitoring on this one. But don't get me wrong, we're also monitoring the blue flag. But it's more in minimum risk. This red flag is more in high risk. Why? Because they're paying cash.
And it's only a month in advance.
It's only a month in advance, although they have the security deposit, but sometimes a security deposit cannot cover expenses of the property. Especially if it's combined with the unpaid utilities payment and then the damage. So take note on that. Maybe we will discuss it with another topic. So we need to more monitor those kind of tenants. Why we are considering those kind of tenants? Why we don't make a standard payment terms? Because the competition also here in real estate, in rental, is it's very competitive here in CBD. Supply is getting bigger, the demand is getting weaker. So we need to, but our objective is to maximize the assets. If the owner allowed that kind of payment terms, why not? But for GSR, for the billing and collection team, the only thing we need to do, we need to monitor it well or more to avoid those loss of income.
I'm processing all of this now, and it's putting it into perspective for me what GSR must be going through as a company. So you're in a constant state of monitoring your tenants and monitoring the properties, especially the red flag coded tenants. Red flag, blue flag, who'd have thought? Now I can internally categorize myself depending on whether I pay cash or have PDC. I'm a red flag man. I live on the edge.
We cannot decline the red flag because it's still the owner's decision. The owner's decision. The only thing that we need to do is to monitor it. Well,
because like you said, at least it's generating income.
Yes.
Hopefully.
But not all red flag is like there's a lot of red flag that we don't encounter problems. It happens that they are new here in Philippines.
And they're still adjusting.
Yes, those requirements is still on process, still adjusting.
So they're more like yellow flags, I guess.
Yes.
Okay. That's super interesting to learn about.
This is one part of the billing and collection, the monitoring.
Okay.
Another part of the billing collections, number 2, is the what do you call this? Managing expenses. Not only monitoring and then collecting income, they also manage expenses. What are those expenses? Those expenses is the RPT that the owner should pay every month, every year.
Real property tax?
Yes, real property tax. And even the association dues. The common practice here in rental, doing rental business is the owners pays the association dues. So this monitoring, the statement of account that they are getting from the developer, from the city hall, the billing and collection is handling those payments also. So even monitoring those utilities of the tenants.
Yeah. So electricity, water, internet sometimes.
Yeah, electricity and then water, internet, and even managing the expenses of the maintenance of the properties. So this all the like the thing that the billing collection did, they will compile this income, receiving income, collecting income, and then paying bills. So billing and collection is parang they are providing monthly report to the unit owner.
So you're working like a hybrid. You're working like a hybrid field team mixed with an accounting team in that case.
Yes, that's
Because you're
correct.
providing the balance sheets for all of the bills plus all of the income. Okay.
Yes. Aside from that, if you do rental business also, you need to like follow the tax law here. So
Okay.
there's a tax law which is every rental needs a 2% withholding tax. And then you need to report an income tax at 8% for the owner. So maybe we will discuss it with another topic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah. But it's
so-
good to know, right, that like those tax laws exist for landlords to adhere to.
yes,
Okay.
our billing collection team also doing that filing
Mhm.
to BIR, to our government agencies. So even you are starting to invest with the property and then going through the rental business, so you need to apply to our government agency to get a receipt or official receipt so you can do rental business.
Okay. I remember a lot of our clients asking if we can provide official receipts. Why is it that is there an extra charge to provide for official receipts rather than acknowledgement receipts? What's the process behind
Yes.
that?
Um the legal way doing rental business, it
Mhm.
should be official receipt.
Okay.
Because even you are owner or an individual, the unit is under individual owner, it's still you're getting an income. So every income should have like tax. So if you are paying tax and then if you're getting income, you should have OR, official receipt. So this is the thing that we need to do, or the if for everyone also, if you want to start rental business, especially with condominiums, you need also to check the process of applying your rental property to our government agency, because it could be a big problem if you want to sell this property in the future.
Because they're going to check their records.
Yes, check the records.
Okay. I didn't think that it would
Compare
be.
with end user. If you are end user and then eventually you decided to sell the property, so it's only CGT, a capital gain tax. But if your property is for investment and then you have a lot of tenant records and then you're not paying rental tax, that could be a big problem in the future, or especially if you sell your property in the future.
Because you had it put down for investment, but then even after, let's say, 5 years of it being in operation,
Yes.
you didn't pay your taxes. Oh, okay. I can see where problems would pop up
Yes.
in that case.
So maybe in the future we will discuss this more, but those things is handling also by billing and collections.
So that's like the third thing that they're doing then.
Yes, they are not coordinating only with the tenant, they're coordinating with the admin when it comes on association dues or other payments or the penalties, and then they're coordinating with the
Government bodies.
government bodies. So and then they're making income report to the unit owner.
So it's three ways then. They're talking to the tenants, the landlords, and the government, and updating them on all of the stuff that's going on, all the while making an income log or a balance sheet, as it were, of everything, so that the unit owner doesn't have to do all of that himself.
Yes,
Yeah, it makes
that's
sense as to why you'd want to have that sort of thing, because you'd have to do all of it yourself if
Yes.
if you didn't have a billing and collection team.
Imagine if you have a property management team that can do all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's one part only, it's billing and collection.
Yeah, which is bothering the tenant. And then another part is making sure you keep track of your own expenses, which is
Yes.
another time sink. And then you have to go to the BIRPA and regularly make sure you're taxed. Okay. I
Yes.
see now why that would be really important to have as a landlord. Okay. That puts a lot of things into perspective. Thank you so much, sir.
Yes, thank you also.
All right. I guess that's all the time we have for today's episode. I learned a lot, and it's been great being able to have you on again here. So, to our beloved viewers, if you'd like to hear, see, and watch more of us, we are also available not just here on Facebook, but you could follow our socials via the Linktree link that we will be linking. That was linked 3 times. Oh, joy. We are also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube Music. If you want to avail of our services, or if you want to just take a look and see more of what we're all about, we also have a website at www.gsr-ph.com. That's www.gsr-ph.com. This has been Mr. Ian Cipriano.
Thank you, everyone.
And I've been your host, Mr. Jose Angelo Zuleta. And until next time, bye!
Bye.
For all of your property needs, come to Global Strategy Real Estate, GSR. We at GSR are your one-stop shop for anything related to your property and more. From management to buying, selling, documentation, and maintenance, we have your back. At GSR, we aspire to provide the level of quality and service which put Japan on the map as one of the hallmarks of hospitality. Let us manage your property today.